What's up, my Financial Fit fam? Adam here, and welcome back as always. You might have asked yourself, how do you know whether a company is good or bad? Should you invest in a company? Well, before you even put down your first dollar, you should understand as much about that company as humanly possible. So where do we find this wealth of information? And luckily enough, there are free resources, and one of my personal favorites is Yahoo Finance. Here you can find a summary of the company. You can look at its chart to see how the stock has performed over a set period of time. You could even look into its financial statements, which we will discuss today. Before making any investment, you always want to do your own research. You want to understand how that company makes money, and you want to understand the overall financial health of that company in that given moment. You never want to blindly invest, meaning putting your money into a stock because someone told you to. Yeah, it might work out from time to time, but if it doesn't, you're just going to be kicking yourself.
Do it! Buy BlackBerry stock. It's going to $100 a share.
So in today's video, we're going to go through a high-level overview of how to use Yahoo Finance so that way you can do your own research and feel comfortable when you make an investment. So let's get going. Now, just as a reminder, today we're going through a general overview of Yahoo Finance. We're not going to be able to deep dive into each topic, but there'll be more videos to come, which will be more specific. So once we get to the homepage, now we're going to actually search for a company that we might be interested in, that at least we want to dive into a little bit deeper. So in the search bar, you can either search the company's name or you can search the ticker symbol. So the ticker symbol is just a series of letters that represent the company that you're trying to look into. In this case, we're going to use Caterpillar as the example for today. All right, as I type it in, you will also see that the ticker symbol will be on the left side and the full name of the company should be on the right. So we'll open up Caterpillar. So on the middle left of your screen, you're going to see the company name and then ticker symbol in the parentheses. Right below it, you're going to see which exchange Caterpillar is traded on. In this case, it's going to be the New York Stock Exchange. And then right below it in big fat numbers is going to be the current stock price for Caterpillar. So right now it's trading at right around $194.62. To the right of the stock price, you're going to see how the stock is performing either in that current trading day or how the stock finished at the end of its previous day. We are looking at this stock right now on a weekend. So this represents how the stock did on Friday. Caterpillar was down $2.78. And you can tell it was down because of the negative sign, but also because the number is red. And then to the right of that, you see the percentage that the stock was down. Now, if we're looking at this stock during a trading day, you're going to see that these three numbers are moving fairly quickly and pretty often. That's very common because there's a lot of stock changing hands that are being traded. Now, the stock market is open Monday through Friday from 9:30 a.m. to 4 p.m., which means on the West Coast, it starts at 6:30 a.m. and it closes at 1 p.m. Something else you might notice is that there's still stocks being traded before the market opens and even after it closes. That's the pre-market and the after hours. Where my cursor currently sits is where those numbers would be represented. Now, in the pre-market and after hours trading, there's not as much volume. There's not as much stock being traded back and forth. So it is a little bit more difficult to buy and sell during that time. However, when the market is open, it is a lot easier to buy and sell stock at prices that you want. What's good movement in a stock? What's a good gain? Honestly, any time that you're green, that's a win. So below the actual stock prices, you're going to see a toolbar, which we're going to jump into in a little bit, but we're going to stay on the summary page and go through all this information that you see on the left-hand side. The first of which is going to be the previous close. So this is where the stock finished on its previous day of trading. Now we're looking at the stock over a weekend, so this 194.62 is technically its previous close. So that's how it finished on Friday. The $197.40 represents where the stock finished on Thursday. All right, so it's a look back at the previous day of trading. Below the previous close, you have the open. Now this is the price of the stock at the beginning of the trading day, so at 9:30 a.m. Below that, you have the bid and the ask. The bid is what people are willing to pay for this stock, and the ask is what people are willing to sell this stock for. So below the ask is the day range. Now this is the price of which the stock was trading throughout the current trading day or the previous trading day, depending on when you're looking at it. In this case, Caterpillar traded as low as $190.88 on Friday, but it also traded as high as $195.71. Below that, the 52-week range represents the same concept, but we're looking at it over 12 months. So its lowest point was $87.50. The highest this stock was $200.17. If you look at the current stock price of $194.62, it's definitely trading towards the higher end of that 52-week range. Below that, you'll see volume. So this is the amount of shares that have been traded either in the current trading day or in the previous trading day, again, depending when you're looking at the stock. And then below that is the average volume. So this takes the average over the previous 20 to 30 days of actual trading volume, and it's represented below the day volume. When there's higher volumes in stock being traded, it's usually easier to get in and out of a stock. And when the volume is very low, it could be more difficult. So sometimes you will hold on to stock a little bit longer because you kind of get stuck with it. On the top in the next column, you're going to see market cap or market capitalization. This is a value of the company, and what it does is it takes the amount of shares and then multiplies it by the price per share, and that gives you an estimated company value. So in the case of Caterpillar, the company is worth right around $105.7 billion. It's pretty impressive. It's one of the larger companies here in the United States. Below market cap, you have beta, and this is a measure of the stock's volatility compared to the rest of the market. If the beta is below 1, that means that the stock isn't necessarily as volatile as the rest of the market, and vice versa. If that number is above 1, the stock actually moves more than the rest of the market. It's a little bit more sensitive. Right below, we have the PE ratio, the price to earnings ratio. This is also known as the earnings multiple. What this does is it takes the price of the stock and then divides it by how much in earnings each share actually brings in. So what does that actually mean? Well, a high PE ratio could suggest that a company is either overvalued or the expectations on the future of that company are very high, and vice versa if there's a low PE ratio. Now, each industry and each sector is different, so the ratio is relevant to the industry, to the sector. Now, if a company is breaking even or even losing money, you're not going to see anything in the PE ratio column. All right, next we have the EPS, the earnings per share. This takes the total profits and divides it by the total amount of shares. This is also used to estimate a company's value. The higher this number is, the more profitable the business is. The earnings date is when the company is going to release its financial information to the public. It normally happens within a certain time frame. Now, currently, Caterpillar is set to release their next earnings on January 29th. We're actually going into the earnings season from the previous quarter. So we're looking at the fourth quarter of 2020. Next up, you have the forward dividend yield. Now, this represents a piece of the earnings that a company pays out to its shareholders. We would call that a dividend. To the right, in parentheses, you'll see the percentage. To the left represents the dollar amount that you would receive if you held a share of Caterpillar for 1 year. So in this case, you receive $4.12, and normally dividends are paid out quarterly. So you would get 1/4 of the $4.12 each quarter. It's important to note that not all companies pay a dividend. It's traditionally companies that have been around longer and have stronger balance sheets. Below that, you have the ex-dividend date. So this is the day by which you need to be holding a share or shares of this stock in order to receive the dividend. For every company, it's different. In this case, for Caterpillar, it'll be January 19th. Below that, you have your 1-year target estimate. This is just a guess by a pool of analysts that believe a stock will trade to this number over the next 12 months. And they're very often wrong in this case, so I would disregard this information. Remember, it's always important that you do your own research when making any investment, and you should make your own choice. Don't base it off of what you see here on this screen. Now we're going to bounce over to the right. The first thing you're going to see is that chart. What you'll notice is along the top, you have time frames. So you can change the time frame of this chart. Right now we have it set for 1 day, but we can look at how it traded over the last week, the last month, 6 months. YTD is year to date. So that would be January 1st through today, which really isn't that long. It's less than a month, right? Because we just started 2021. A full year. So this would be middle of January last year to middle of January this year. How it performed the last 5 years. And then the max will go back all the way to basically the inception of the company. If you want to know the price on a specific day, all you have to do is scroll over the chart and it will show you. If you want to look at this chart in a larger screen, you can enlarge here and then you can play around with some of the other metrics. You'll see that I changed it from a line chart. This is a candlestick chart. We're not going to go into that today, but you can really change it to what you feel is best for your own research. We will do more on charts and how to read charts more effectively in a future video. Now, if we slide down below the chart, you're going to see some basic technical analysis on the trend of the chart. I would avoid this information as well, consider it negligible, and just kind of move on. Below this information is going to be all the news related to this company. Now, one thing to keep in mind is that they do put ads next to some of the news articles, so there is some clickbait here. It's relatively easy to identify. You'll see that the first one here is an article that has something to do with Caterpillar. Below that, you're going to see an ad that's sponsored by E-Trade. So just be careful as you're opening these links. You want to make sure that you're getting the appropriate information versus just clicking on a link because it's suggested by an algorithm. On the right-hand side, you're going to see some earnings graphs. You'll notice that the hollow circles are what the analyst suggested the company would perform as far as its earnings. And then the filled in green circle would suggest that it beat earnings. The red circle would suggest that it missed earnings or fell short of earnings. And you'll see the same thing with financials. You look at the revenue there will be in green, and you can look at its growth from year over year, and the blue will represent the earnings from that revenue. All right, so now we're going to scroll back up to where the stock price was and go back to that toolbar. The company outlook is a premium feature, and as you can tell, I don't use it. There's probably information throughout some of these other tabs that you can find that would represent what is actually in the company outlook. Next is going to be the chart, and we just looked at on the previous page, right? So you can go into your summary, you can go to full screen, and it brings you to this chart page. The next is going to be conversations. So this is where all the ogres go to put either their thoughts on the stock, or if they feel pessimistic about the stock, they put their reactions on the message boards. I would highly advise, don't even look at them. Don't waste your time. They're just going to make you feel all different ways about the stock, and they're usually not based on any real information. The next tab is going to be the statistics. So some of this information you'll find also on that summary page, and we'll go over some of the things that we see or some of these metrics in a future video. But a lot of it's a reiteration of what we've already seen, plus a little bit more of an in-depth analysis. The historical data will give you the price movement either from day to day, or you can also adjust the time frame here by looking at the frequency. So if you want to look at how the stock has performed week to week, you can do that as well. It shows you the open, the highs, the close, the lows, the volume also on the right-hand column. All right. Now we go back to the top and we go to profile. This gives you background information about the company. So you'll see the company's headquarters, you see their website, the industry and sector that they are in. You see how many employees work for the company, about 102,000 employees for Caterpillar, pretty big. You also get a full list of the executive team, which I think is very valuable. A lot of the company's future growth is going to be based off the leadership team and what they're actually able to accomplish. And then if you're really unfamiliar, you can go to the actual description, and it gives you a paragraph or two about the company, its inception, how it's performed, its industry, and just good to know a little bit more information about what you might be investing in. The next tab is by far the most important out of anything on this page, which is the financials. So here we can look at the income statements, the balance sheets, and the cash flow over an entire year period, or we can look at it from quarter to quarter. The things that I'm really looking for here, just a general overview, is going to be the total revenue increasing, and then also the net income increases of the earnings of the company. You can also take a deeper dive into the company financials by looking at the balance sheets and by looking at the cash flows. We will go over all these sheets in a future video. Next would be the analysis tab. And this is a summary of information from financial analysts who are tracking the stock. So take what you see on this page with a grain of salt. Analysts are wrong more often than they are right. So again, do your own research. You should feel comfortable with your own investment. Next up is options. Now, if you're newer to the markets, I recommend staying away from options completely. But basically options, you are trading the right to either buy or sell that stock at a given price. Let's leave it at that. Next is going to be the holders. So this shows which large institutions are actually holding the stock. You see things like Vanguard, BlackRock in here. And normally when large reputable institutions hold a stock, it fortifies the reputation of that company. Doesn't mean that another stock who doesn't have these backers won't go up. It just, again, enhances its company's reputation. So that's a general overview of how to use Yahoo Finance to do your research and make you more confident when you're making your investments. If you want to start investing, using a simple platform is the way to go. I personally use Robinhood and MYRNE Finance. You can find links to both those platforms in the description below. If you do use that referral code, you and I will both receive a free stock up to $218 in value. So let's help each other out. If you want to go with MYRNE Finance, you and I will both receive $30 to probably help continue to build our portfolio. These promos do change from time to time, but it is accurate as of the filming of this video. I hope you found this information valuable, and I hope it brings you confidence whenever you make an investment. If you're liking this information, make sure to hit the like button and make sure to subscribe. And as always, save, invest, and grow. Ciao, ciao.